thank you so much for everyone in the audience for joining us today. As you likely know, I am Hunter, one of the community managers over here at Off-Chain Labs, building Arbitrum. And today we're joined by none other than the Trader Joe team, or more commonly known as one of the biggest DEXs on Avalanche. They've decided to, make the move into the Ethereum ecosystem with Arbitrum 1 as their home here. And yeah, today we'll just be talking about, their recent deployment, of course, on Arbitrum 1, their innovative take on the new AMM they've made called the Liquidity book, and essentially what they'll be building in the near future, and probably a ton more too, to be honest. But that being said, how's it going, guys?
Oh, doing great, thanks. We had a successful deployment on Arbitrum, and we are very excited of having joined this community, having told to all the big brains on the Arbitrum chain, and we are still looking forward to everything we are going to do together.
Of course, likewise. By the way, we just got Murloc on. GM Murloc, GM.
GM?
I think right now would be perfect time, if you guys don't mind, maybe giving some quick intros alongside what y'all's role at Trader Joe is. And maybe we can start with you, Blue, on the Trader Joe account.
Yeah, sure. So kind of wear a few hats, but essentially I'm primarily responsible for marketing and community at Trader Joe. So that's the DEX. And that kind of means, I'm mainly responsible for pushing kind of growth, content, delivery, and of course, management of community affairs. A small bit about myself. So I worked for Joe since almost the beginning of Trader Joe. So I joined back in August 2021, just before Avalanche really kind of kicked off as a big DeFi chain that it is today. And that was just a really great time to get into DeFi as sort of a career as well. So Trader Joe is like my first kind of DeFi job. Prior to that, my career was kind of grounded in traditional finance as a sort of marketing analyst for an asset management firm. But yeah, I got into crypto mainly just for like the genuine level of excitement. Just completely different industry with just genuine community interaction, which is just so different from like a typical kind of traditional finance role. And yeah, just loved every single day, even though it's really hard. I'm sure everyone can relate to it. It's extremely challenging, but super exciting to work in this industry. So yeah, that's me.
Yeah, I am David Defy, the general manager at Trader Joe, and I will be the person that basically everyone on the Arbitrum ecosystem, from protocols to projects that want to work with Trader Joe, usually will have their first point of contact and conversation on how they could work together with Trader Joe in any type of direction. And within the team, I've joined more than 1 year ago. And personally, I've had experience as a DGen since early 2020, heavy on DeFi, and experiencing all projects that are available on any interesting chain that launched at any time. And that also allowed me to have a very good and 360 overview of all projects that are out there, talking to any single project that wanted to be listed or work with Trader Joe on Avalanche. Also gave me a great insight over the year of everything that is happening around any direction of crypto. And this experience overall taught me a lot that is needed to be known in the space. And that's why on Arbitrum started when there was the good old Arbinian cat token. That was my first experience 1 year ago, and looking at Arbitrum since then. Very excited of being here.
I'm happy that was your onboarding into the ecosystem.
That was also mine. So
Go ahead, Murloc.
Hey folks, I am Murloc. I'm a co-founder at Trader Joe and JoePegs. I manage product and engineering on our platforms. Really happy to be here. Have definitely had a lot of experience just, as a developer and, interacting with all the different, tooling and, got a really firsthand experience of, the Arbitrum, speed and scalability. And, it's been a real pleasure and really exciting to launch the liquidity book DEX here on Arbitrum.
Awesome. Yeah. I mean, again, also just pleasure to, of course, be speaking with you guys today. I think this is going to be a very, very interesting one for multiple reasons. But I think, kind of jumping into it, because I know it's possible that maybe some people in our community aren't too familiar with Trader Joe and your origins. Do you guys mind maybe kind of jumping into like pretty much what Trader Joe is and what brought you to starting it? And it sounds like maybe Murloc, you might be the best for that one.
Yes, thank you. So, Trader Joe, we launched as a DEX on Avalanche. We started as, a very humble, regular old DEX that, many folks, I think here on Arbitrum may be familiar with. If you've used Uniswap or SushiSwap, it will be very similar. And, at what sets us apart from other DEXs is our commitment to user experience. Our goal is to be able to provide a one-stop decentralized trading platform, for users, whether that's DeFi or NFTs. And today, we have launched our newest iteration of our AMM, our automatic market maker, here on Arbitrum, and it allows users to trade with very low, zero or low slippage, and it also allows users to participate in DeFi as liquidity providers to earn really good fees competitively. And so, as to why did we start, a DEX? This is a fun story. We this was right before when Avalanche really kind of like blew up. Myself and my co-founder CryptoFish, you know, we just really like DEXs, and so we started one. And why did we choose the name Trader Joe? We just used it as a code name, at first. We just thought it was fun because it's all about traders, right, on a DEX, and everyone else was doing like fruits and food and animals at the time, and we thought like, hey, how come no one's doing like a human, like the average Joe? And so we went with Trader Joe, and people liked the name, so it just stuck, and that's how we started Trader Joe. We just launched DEX because we like DEXs and DeFi, and the rest is history.
It's so funny, by the way, that like I didn't even realize that was kind of when you guys really came about. If there's some OGs in the crowd, I'm sure they remember that time period where like the meta then was to just make a project and like name it after a food. I think there was like it's like a yam one. There was like something named after a pickle. Frankly, I think even sushi came from that too. But I think that's so cool because I mean I think at the end of the day, it's like the base layer of DeFi at the end of the day is really swapping, right? I mean that's like the ground level like infrastructure you need for almost anything in DeFi, like some sort of swapping mechanism.
Yeah, that's right. With DeFi, blockchains, crypto as a whole, right? Like it's the whole thing's been around for some time, And for the longest time, I remember this like many years ago when people, would tell me all about blockchain, and then other people would start asking, well, what's the use case? Like, what do you really use it for? Like blockchain for XYZ. I think, lots of people have heard like that those kind of bar conversations over and over. But to me, I think, and by the way, I'm a relative newbie to like DeFi and crypto and things like that. I think I first experienced DeFi like, I don't know, maybe like April 2021. So and I used Uniswap. I swapped a token, and it was a really great experience. I remember my first time participating in a yield farm. It was absolutely crazy, but like you click a button and then you received a reward, and I was just instantly hooked after that. But to coming back to your point about like the base use case, right? Like the most proven use case of crypto and DeFi and smart contracts today is to be able to exchange digital assets. I think that's it sounds simple, it sounds basic, but it's also very profound. And we have very ambitious goals of what else does that mean. I mentioned about being a one-stop decentralized trading platform. Like, what else does that mean beyond like your typical swap token A for B? I think, but that's the core of all of it, right? Like, we have this intrinsic desire to buy and sell different digital assets, and the DEX is the foundation to do all those things.
That's awesome. Yeah. So I think then I know we can take this multiple different ways, but we're gonna touch on everything. No worries. But I think that so you guys establishing yourselves as like essentially like the number one DEX on Avalanche, obviously is a very huge deal. Like, what brought you guys to making the decision to say, hey, you know what, we want to also move our operations over into the Ethereum ecosystem, obviously starting with Arbitrum in this case. I'd love to know like what kind of thought process you guys went through to make that decision and kind of what you took into consideration when doing that.
Sure, I'll lead, and then maybe Blue or Davide can chime in as well. So firstly, like myself, I'm not particularly chain maxi. Like, obviously, like we love Avalanche. That's a very important part of our origin story, and today it's still our home. Um, you know, but at the end of the day, I think DeFi, as a community, or Web3 or NFT as a community, that's one big family, right? And there's people are trying so many cool things in different parts of crypto, and it would be foolish, right, not to be able to engage with you know the wider crypto community as a whole. I hope that we can be as successful as some of the household names in DeFi today, right? Like Uniswap is in many places. We also aspire to become a really great crypto brand like that, and to be able to grow like that. And you like, why did we choose Arbitrum? I think we just have a really good feel of what's happening here on Arbitrum. I think a lot of it reminds me of like the early days of Avalanche as well, when there were just, you look at it, you may not feel like, oh, there's like lots of things, but there are lots of many small teams trying different things, lots of tinkering going on. It reminds me of like the early days of Avalanche. And I think for us as a team, like we like to go to where we think growth is going to happen. We don't like to chase trends after it's formed. We always want to you know be a part of the community and be a part of that leg of growth, right? Like, we do believe that aside from creating DeFi protocols and things like that, like we are also community builders. We like to be a part of the community. And so, we're very optimistic about what's happening here on Arbitrum, and that's why we're here. Like, we want to be, we want to contribute. We were here to help build with everyone, and be a part of like the growth story.
Yeah, maybe I can chime onto that as well. So I think like more of a personal kind of take here. Arbitrum, from me, gets huge respect for building the ecosystem in a totally organic manner with such consistency over time. It's got clear kind of mind share, from genuine builders that have been here for a long time, with very unique protocols, and it's also got its share of bigger kind of blue chip household name DeFi protocols as well. So it's just a really strong proposition of an ecosystem to be part of. And whilst there are a number of DEXs here, what we brought over and what we can obviously talk about surely is Liquidity Book. It is innovative, it is new, and it does add a new kind of flavor into this ecosystem. And yeah, we're just really excited to be part of the ecosystem that's been built in the way that it has been built. And yeah, looking forward to kind of contributing to 2023 in the Arbitrum eco.
People have asked us for a long time when multi-chain, and one sentence that I always loved from Marlock was that when you go abroad, you want to eat local, and that's what we have always thought was the real way to go multi-chain, that when we go into a new ecosystem, we must speak and offer the local flavor. And we really liked what was going on over Arbitrum. And we are, of course, wanting to be in a place where we feel that there is a good place where everyone can grow together and people can enjoy it. So it is very important to appreciate the flavors that are also available where you go. And this is what happened also. We very much appreciate the conversations we have had over the time with the projects that are available over here. And this is also a key factor. As a DEX, you can thrive as long as the projects that you host on the DEX are going to be interesting for the people. And this is also a good reason why we believe that there is a great opportunity for all of us to grow over Arbitrum, because we see that there is a lot of interest in participating in the Arbitrum ecosystem, and that's a great place where we want to be and want to be part of it.
I love that analogy, by the way. Big foodie myself. I'm interested in knowing as well. Additionally, like I guess from a community perspective, do you guys like notice any like synergies that between users that you have obviously on Avalanche and those that you see on Arbitrum, or do you kind of see both of them as like two? You kind of see like both of these as like two different markets that you guys are having to serve now.
No, I do see synergy. So the way we've kind of built the Trader Joe community is a real kind of like heavy focus on I kind of say like weaponizing the brand, right? Making everything codified, right down to emojis. And so I feel like we've got a really strong kind of flavor within our community. Everything is all about Joe and the different way Joe is positioned. We weaponize Joe in all of our comms, our graphics, our assets. Everything we do across all of our kind of marketing stack. You'll see Joe in some sort of meme, and that's such an important part in Web3. And I've been a part of, I'd say, the Arbitrum ecosystem from the very early days, and I'm part of many of the communities for those kind of protocols that either migrated there or have developed on Arbitrum, and it's very much a similar kind of Yeah, I'd say it's got a good synergy to kind of how we manage the Trader Joe community and marketing arm as well. There's lots of very vibrant and colorful communities there. And so for me, from the perspective of a user on Arbitrum, it feels like an extension of how Joe fits into an ecosystem and runs as well. So yeah, 100% like do feel that there is natural synergy with a lot of other kind of communities on Arbitrum. And yeah, really excited to kind of integrate Joe into that as well.
Yeah, we are there to also serve our current community in offering them new ways to get to explore different protocols that they might not have seen as of now on Avalanche. So it is actually key that we see an opportunity for the Avalanche users of Trader Joe to also be able to engage with the protocols that are available on Arbitrum, and also vice versa, of course. It is important. The DeFi space still has a lot to give. There is so much that can be done and built on top of it. So the relevance between the communities is extremely important, because as of today, it's very hard that you'll meet someone that is one chain maxi, and we want to engage with these users that are curious to try new things, because that's also what made the success of Avalanche. Avalanche became successful also thanks to the people that were curious to move away from just being on Ethereum or BSC or whatever, and good, fast, cheap chains are on everyone's interest. So besides these basic fundamentals, everything else also has then to match.
I totally hear you there, and I think I guess to kind of finish off the point there, I think I'm happy to hear that, and I feel like the community that's been cultivated here on Arbitrum really kind of stems around like open mindedness, like dedication, and just engagement. And I noticed that like when we made the announcement about you guys kind of coming over, I truly felt that same energy coming from like the Trader Joe side of things. So to me, it's almost kind of like like a long lost cousin, you know? Like you knew they were always there, and you felt like they should have been a part of the family the entire time. You just needed that little push.
That's the persona of Joe for you. You know, he is just like a naturally kind of welcoming, kind of friendly guy, right? We kind of position him as in like, you know, Joe is potentially like the best friend you've never met. You know, he has that aura around him.
That's amazing. Yeah. No wonder it's like it truly is like just like the missing piece of the puzzle that should have always been there. I think so. Obviously, you guys are now live on Arbitrum One. What can we kind of go over real quick? What's currently live today?
Who wants to take that?
Go ahead, Blue.
Sure. So what's live today is essentially it's the decentralized exchange stack. So it's Joe V1. That's the X times Y equals K AMM, which is a Uniswap V2 fork. And then there's also Liquidity Book, which is our new innovative and novel AMM. To keep it really high level, Liquidity Book is basically a concentrated liquidity DEX. AMM. And that is, so Joe V1, that's permissionless. So anyone can open a liquidity pool there. With Liquidity Book, that's a permission market only. So we've got a number of markets that are live at the moment. We're expecting to roll out new markets soon. So it's Joe V1 and Liquidity Book.
Yes, I would love to dive into this new, I guess, innovative take you guys have on the AMM, the Liquidity Book, as you mentioned. I'll hand it off to whoever should be taking it. But yeah, we'd love to hear a little bit more about the Liquidity Book and what you guys hope to achieve with it.
Sure. So I can perhaps kick off more of an in-depth kind of dive to Liquidity Book. So I guess first and foremost, Liquidity Book, it was built to fix the inefficiencies of Joe V1, X times Y equals K AMM, while still maintaining and aiming to improve the simple kind of user experience that the sort of existing AMM offered. So at high level with Liquidity Book, traders can get more efficient trades and they can execute swaps with zero slippage, depending on the liquidity that's available. Liquidity providers that use Liquidity Book, they can get enhanced efficiency thanks to the ability to kind of concentrate their assets over sort of specific price points. Liquidity providers also get some level of mitigation against impermanent loss thanks to the volatility adjusted dynamic fees that we have. And in addition to that, liquidity is also fungible on the DEX as well. So it offers sort of maximum composability of liquidity, which is great for builders that potentially want to kind of integrate LB tokens on Liquidity Book as well. So that's kind of like a higher level.
I would love to maybe like dig in a little bit more there. Unless you were going to continue. I just saw you on mute. That's why. Okay. Sorry. I think one thing you mentioned there was concentrated liquidity. Can you maybe and you can do this whichever way you please. But I think maybe one thing that people their minds will go to is like, okay, Uniswap V3 has concentrated liquidity. Could you maybe dive into how Liquidity Book differs in this way when utilizing concentrated liquidity?
Yeah, sure. So let's talk about Joe V1 first. So yeah, in traditional kind of AMMs such as Joe V1, when you deposit liquidity, that liquidity is distributed evenly across kind of price ranges from 0 to infinity. So basically, while there's always liquidity in a liquidity pool in a V1 model, that also means that liquidity is spread over an infinitely large price range. And that means a lot of liquidity is not actually used or sort of called on when a trader is making a trade. So whilst it's really great from a user experience perspective, because there's always liquidity there for traders to swap tokens, it's really inefficient from a capital perspective. So, you need a huge amount of liquidity to facilitate large trades without incurring kind of large fees. So it locks up lots of liquidity, and it still isn't efficient for liquidity providers, and still doesn't give good rates on large swaps. So pros and cons, but mainly Liquidity Book, it comes in, it fixes that inefficiency. So one of those key features being with Liquidity Book, a liquidity provider can concentrate their liquidity. So when they deposit liquidity, they're not putting it over that 0 to infinity price range. They can say, right, I'm going to deposit this liquidity over, price points of 99 cents to $1.01. So, the example being they're putting liquidity into a stable pool like USDC to USDC.E. So they can use pretty much all of their assets over a price range that is pretty much always going to be traded. So that's a huge efficiency increase for that liquidity provider, because they know that those assets are going to be collecting trading fees, because that's the price points at which traders are going to be swapping those tokens. And because there's more liquidity deposited into the key price points that traders are trading, that also deepens the liquidity within those price points. And so traders will then get better rates when they're swapping tokens as well. So that's one of the key features. So that is essentially Liquidity Book allows concentration of liquidity, and that's how it differs from Joe V1.
And just for like a timeline sake, when did you guys come out with the liquidity book? That's like a recent thing, right?
Yeah, so we released the white paper end of August, and it took a few months as we were essentially kind of building and deploying them. But liquidity book came out about I should know this off the top of my head by the date, about a month ago, a month and a half. Yeah, about a month and a half ago. So it is still a really new protocol. It is innovative. It's there's nothing else like it. And yeah.
No, yeah, that's awesome, and I think to my point earlier, like I'd love to maybe like dive into maybe like any of the differences that has between any other protocol that kind of maybe claims that they have a similar model in terms of like concentrated liquidity versus like kind of just like a broader liquidity set, I guess.
Yeah, sure. So maybe I can touch on so one of the ways that Liquidity Book is innovative compared to kind of previous AMMs that offer concentrated liquidity. So Liquidity Book is built with a novel kind of architecture. So we call it a bin architecture. And what this is basically the easiest way to kind of visualize this is if you think of like an existing AMM model, a Joe V1. So you think about a swimming pool, right? So you fill that with liquidity that is from 0 to infinity. But with Liquidity Book, how it's slightly different. You're not placing liquidity into, a swimming pool. What you've got instead of how this AMM is built, so the architecture of how it's actually put together, is you've got a collection of containers. So we call these bins, for example. And liquidity providers come along and they decide to place liquidity into a select number of bins, and that's the price points at which they're depositing liquidity. So this is called discretized liquidity. So it's a form of concentrating liquidity, but we would technically refer to it as discretized liquidity built in this kind of bin architecture. So liquidity providers select the price points of where they want to deposit their liquidity. And one of the unique features that this offers users, and particularly traders as well, is that this discretized liquidity means that liquidity is placed inside bins. And so when traders come along and they want to trade tokens, if they're only trading liquidity out of one of these bins, which would represent one price point, if their trade doesn't take liquidity from other bins within that liquidity pool, that's the tech which allows the swap to execute with zero slippage, because each of these bins, each of these price points that store liquidity, have their own sort of liquidity reserves that defines the price, which is always one price within that one bin. So liquidity that's called out of just one bin on a swap, traders get zero slippage swaps. So it's a step above existing models because this tech, is new, is innovative, and it facilitates zero slippage on trades, which basically means as a trader, you can pretty much trade tokens for cheaper. And the big value prop here is, depending on how much liquidity is in the bin, let's just say it's like 20 million. If someone comes along, they want to swap 5 million out of this particular price point, well, we've got the liquidity to facilitate that with zero slippage, which is a pretty strong value proposition because you can go to any other DEX and, if you want to do a large trade, 7-figure trade, you'll probably get slippage on that. But, with liquidity, it has the capability to push that trade through without slippage.
To make it easy to visualize, we can say that liquidity is stacked vertically instead of horizontally. So with a classic NFT position, liquidity provider used to select a range and deploy liquidity across that range specifically. With Liquidity Book, liquidity providers stack their liquidity vertically on each single bin. So each bin can have a different and unique allocation of liquidity, and each single bin is one identified by Liquidity Book as one liquidity position. When users deploy across, let's call it a range of 20 bins, each bin is individual in their position, in their size, and can be and liquidity providers can remove or add liquidity to each bin independently from the rest of their position.
Oh wow, very interesting. So in a way too, I feel like another side effect of that is like on the people. So on the side of it, at the very least, the LP providers, it actually makes it easier to provide liquidity because like you're not kind of having to guess which range you're putting your liquidity on. You're pretty much kind of choosing from these kind of pre-selected bins, as you say, and just kind of going from there instead of literally like doing mental math for this stuff, which is like insanely hard to do for the previous iterations.
Yeah, so the UI we've rolled out like predefined kind of shapes that liquidity providers can choose from. Each shape will be kind of perhaps dependent on the pair there. So the more volatile ones, you may want a kind of a wider range of bins. But with stables, you probably want a more concentrated position. And so the UI helps the user basically make this an easy decision by defining those shapes. And there's supporting documentation which help kind of clearly articulate which shape would be more preferential to which particular pair that you're depositing liquidity to.
Yeah, and these shapes are we can also say UX approach. UI approaches to how liquidity can be deployed, but it's just a suggestion. Users can individually then choose to deploy only on one bin at a time with different sizes. Just interacting with the smart contract, they could allocate however they prefer, and also given our composability attitude towards the protocol, any third-party protocol can build strategies with any type of distribution mechanism or shape they wish to create, because it is just free to be handled. Each bin can be handled independently in that sense. So there is no predetermined shape that must be used. Our UX offer mostly suggestions, but then every user can use their creativity however they want in the deployment phase.
Yeah, and we're actually finding since launching an Avalanche, like lots of users are, it's a brand new protocol, across DeFi in terms of like, depositing liquidity over these bins. There's these shapes which are really unfamiliar to many users who are just used to the kind of the passive kind of deposit and collect from farms. So active liquidity, we found in the community, it is really complex for many users, but we're also starting to see now we're kind of getting past that point where regular users are now familiar with the different shapes and different strategies you can deploy. And it's starting to get a bit, I'd say a bit competitive, because, at the end of the day, this type of active liquidity provisioning is ultimately like the best LPs will earn more, and the not so great LPs, will earn less than the best, right? There's a competition element to it. And so we're finding mutual benefit in, for example, Discord, where members are asking questions around, hey, what strategy should I deploy here? How should I change this? And there's a level of collaboration and helping and understanding, across the community around, hey, you might earn more fees by doing this, etc. Everything's obviously stamped with NFA and DYOR, but we're kind of seeing a surgence of people kind of collectively coming together and helping each other learn and understand what works and what necessarily doesn't work, which is great to see, right?
Yeah, the most competitive, or let's say the most advanced traders for the first time can actually provide liquidity in a tighter range, however they feel, for example, market directions could go, and decide to go deep into that specific range and actively earn fees out of the trades that are made in the range that they've pre-selected. So indeed, it creates also for the smartest liquidity provider an opportunity to go deep into the liquidity providing in specific ranges that they believe are going to be the most interesting, or anyway the ones touched by any direction, besides the standard ultra neutral approaches that are very fashionable during bear markets, and they work perfectly fine with liquidity book. There are different attitude that a liquidity provider can take now with liquidity book, as it allows different profiles of liquidity providing.
Yeah, maybe we can also talk about the dynamic fee element as well. As so another kind of innovation for liquidity book, compared to existing kind of concentrated liquidity AMMs that are operating today, is a volatility adjusted dynamic fee. So in pretty much in existing AMMs, like when you trade, there'll be a base fee that's applied to that trade, and that base fee is paid to liquidity providers, and that's pretty much it. Whereas liquidity book trading across liquidity book pools, there is a base fee which is visible on the UI, and that's always the minimum fee which is applied to trades. But there's also a variable fee, and this variable fee will only kick in when there's volatility within that specific market that's being traded. So we've basically got this internal mechanism designed. It's called a volatility accumulator. And sort of to keep this really simple, essentially, when there are trades happening within that liquidity pool, if there is volatility being incurred, and that's basically where liquidity is being drawn from multiple bins. If there's volatility being incurred in that pool when big trades happen and take liquidity from multiple bins, the volatility accumulator starts to count upwards, and this basically turns on a feature called surge pricing, which is essentially the variable fee component. More volatility essentially increases the variable fee. And so when traders are trading during high volatility, like lots of volatility happening, they may be charged a variable fee on top of a base fee. But this is really important for liquidity providers because this acts as an additional kind of fee reward for providing liquidity during times of high volatility. And that's typically when liquidity providers suffer from impermanent loss, which we've seen is a big issue in concentrated liquidity DEXs because there's not enough fees being generated to cover the impermanent loss that LPs are suffering over a long period. So having this kind of unique feature that helps to mitigate impermanent loss for liquidity providers is, an innovation in this space because, ultimately, more needs to be done for liquidity providers over the long term because base fee accrual is not enough. And, we're really happy to introduce this new kind of novel feature that helps liquidity providers just earn a bit more during times that they're really needed, and that is during volatility.
That is such an interesting approach. I feel like that's kind of akin to I know this is gonna sound weird, but I swear it's relevant. Like to how when you order an Uber, right? There's there's regular pricing for the most part, but in areas with very very high demands, I think they call it something similar where they have surge pricing and they increase the price of a classic Uber, right? Um, that's such an interesting take, and especially considering the whole impermanent loss thing, I think, has been quite a big conversation around liquidity providing, as of like, I mean, frankly, for as long as providing liquidity has been around. But that's such a cool take on how to improve that. Like, what have you guys seen on in terms of like the community reception, in terms of like that like those surge periods?
So to be fair, since we've launched it, I don't think we've actually experienced what we would definitely classify as high volatility. I think a lot of the high volatility periods of this year happened before we launched it. And so I think it's still TBD to see how you know, participants on our platform as well as our fees will react to high volatility. But definitely like there is ongoing effort and need to collect more fine-grained data. So this is actually a priority internally for us. We're building out dedicated backends to index more data, collect more, fine-grained data on precisely these things. We have a lot of side conversations with folks from the crypto Twitter community, as well as the academic community, that are digging into deeply like into this problem, right? Like for liquidity providers on DeFi, DEXs, and things like that, are they really profitable? And can mechanisms such as our volatility accumulator, our surge pricing, help them? So I think this is one of the aspects that our research team are working on. I hope to be able to share more with not just with the Arbitrum community, but also the greater DeFi community as a whole on our findings.
By the way, just remembering that you guys mentioned it's only been out for like a month and a half, so completely understandable. What that means essentially is we need to make a call out to all whales. Guys, listen, just come over to Arbitrum, start trading like a crazy amount. Like we pretty much need to rock the boat for these guys. This is what it sounds like. Like we want a lot of people, rocking the boat in this case. That's really cool. Yeah, I'm very excited to see that, and I'm honestly more than positive. There'll be times where that's activated, even with you guys on Arbitrum. Uh, I think then maybe moving on here a little bit. What is the goals of of your team with this deployment onto Arbitrum One?
So great
Pretty
question.
much roadmap.
Well, I think in terms of goals, right? Like, we're very competitive. We definitely have, aspirations to serve the Arbitrum community, and we also hope to, be the home base for, Arbitrum users here. We hope that people will like our product and do their DEX, their swapping, be able to fulfill their needs, um, you know, for their everyday DEX activities. So we hope that we can be, we can do well and serve folks on the Arbitrum community, but also be a good partner for all the other protocols and teams here. See how we can collaborate together. In terms of roadmap stuff, like yes, we have this great AMM, but it doesn't stop here. We also understand like just having a basic product, like that's just step one. There's a lot to go into it. I talked a little bit more about like how we want, our vision is to be able to provide the one-stop decentralized trading platform. And today, like I think folks definitely appreciate the instancy of being able to just connect your wallet, go to a DEX, and swap your tokens, swap your digital assets. But sometimes that's not enough. For example, like we've seen this very recently this year some failures of centralized finance platforms, centralized exchanges in particular. But the truth be told, like there's a lot of gaps in user experience, both for the swappers and like the market makers, between DeFi, the DEXs today, and the centralized exchanges. And we hope that we can, building on the architecture that we have for Liquidity Book, to be able to offer, better user experiences, really, drive DeFi forward, along those lines. I hope that we can deliver compelling user experience and new products and features that folks will enjoy, and really set us apart from the other DEXs.
Yeah, maybe I can add on to that as well. So, we're really big on community at Trader Joe and on Avalanche. And so what we're working on at the moment is putting together plans for kind of like a Joe Discovery Quest campaign where, we look to leverage our kind of existing community and help to, encourage discovery and exploration into Arbitrum across, key kind of protocols and projects that we've partnered with already. So yeah, we're definitely working on something which will kind of launch quests and tasks with the aim of educating, informing, promoting, and activating users across those kind of key partner platforms. So definitely expect to hear something soon, and of course there's going to be rewards in the form of NFTs, tokens, and community perks as well. So yeah, really excited to kind of roll that out in January.
Wait, did someone write that down? That was alpha. Anybody? Don't worry, I got it. Making sure this is recorded. That's awesome. Really excited for that. Wow. Is that like? Is there any hints there? And you can just tell me to shut up if you want me to. Any hints there on like potential partnerships with other protocols that you guys have planned, or?
Well, we dropped already plenty of these partnerships in our initial launch, and we have a good mixture of protocols from any type of DeFi product available on Arbitrum. The true key of this is that a lot of like we have around 20 projects already as launch partners, and these are going to be the foundations of what's to come. We of course want to welcome anyone that we haven't told to yet, or that doesn't found a partnership push yet, to anyway keep desiring to work with us, because what we have seen from many of these projects is that they are all looking forward to work with a brand like us, which has a strong community. Some of them still have to understand to which extent actually commit to the Joe ecosystem. Besides marketing, commingling, there are many opportunities like seeding liquidity on our DEX or building on top of us. Some protocols are considering to move their protocol on liquidity, while others don't have any protocol on liquidity and want to understand what their users can gain out of it. So for us internally, the priority of the next weeks is to make sure that all of our launching partners can uh, can find with us a good direction to grow together with Joe, and work together with both our communities and their roadmap in a way that makes sense. There are so many things that a DEX can do with all of them.
Yeah. Thank you, by the way, for that alpha. I think that at this point we can maybe throw it over to the community if anyone has any questions. What do you guys think? I know we're hitting up on time, by the way, so just going to be mindful of that.
Yeah, more than open to any community Q&As.
Awesome. Yeah, so anyone in the chat, feel free to request to speak if you have any questions for the Trader Joe team.
Thanks for pinning that tweet, Fred, by the way. Appreciate that.
Of course. If there's anything else you want me to pin, let me know. CK Based, you're up.
Hey guys, thanks for bringing me up. Yeah, I just want to say I'm very excited for the Joe launch on Arbitrum. I tuned in a little late when you were talking about weaponized memes, basically, and codifying your communication. I think that's a very important factor in the success of Arbitrum and of Joe, because it really unites a community and creates this sense of like a shared identity. And the integration of Joe feels very organic, which is very nice to see and very rare. I think there's not really an aspect of like predatory tactics, like competing or trying to get other users to switch over, but simply to expand the community you build on Avalanche and allowing them to experience new products, new partners on a new chain. So just wanted to give my appreciation for the team and what they're planning to do. That's all.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I really appreciate those words. It's really nice of you. We're here with Liquidity Book, but we're also bringing memes and our own culture as well, and hope it fits naturally in. So yeah, appreciate that.
By the way, extra shout out there to whoever makes your graphics. I mean, literally every last one you guys come out with is just truly like out of this world. Literally out of this world.
Yeah, we have at the moment 4 full-time artists. So and they all kind of have their own style, and it's great. Like we like to use Joe, and basically, we kind of let our artists kind of visualize Joe in their own way, and it makes it like a really good kind of eclectic kind of range of different Joes. But they all feel the same, which is the most important. Like they all have the the red hat, the big nose, and volley the sidekick, and those are the most important codes about Joe. Oh, and the white beard, of course.
Kind of has a little resemblance to Santa Claus for some reason.
Well, that's the alpha there, right? Trader Joe is Santa Claus.
I think Santa Claus is Trader Joe. Just saying. If anyone else,
we laugh about this, but like at the moment, I have this issue. I can't change my profile picture. There's something wrong with Twitter. It's not letting me change it. So I think Trader Joe's going to be wearing this Santa hat well into January.
Wait, what? That's fine. It's okay. I'm sure it's always relevant. Don't worry. It's a meme. All right, we got bringing up Love Warrior.
Hi.
Jim. Oh yeah, you're muted, Warrior.
Thank you.
Any questions for the Trader Joe team? Love Warrior, you there?
He's just vibing.
Yeah. how does Trader Joe become like more dominant than Whole Foods? I mean Amazon, I mean Whole Foods.
Wrong Trader Joe, sir.
Definitely no comment on that. Definitely no comment.
A little joking.
Better product, better prices, better selection.
Oh snap, we got answers.
Just like the same applies for supermarkets as it does for DEXs.
All organic, baby. All right, I'm gonna bring up Zogi then, just in case. Is that all, Warrior?
Yeah, I think so.
You know what? We appreciate you.
Love that. Yeah, big appreciation.
All right, I think we'll end up here with Zogi, just in case they have any questions. Because I know we're past time.
My name is Zach. I just had to log in from this handle for the company. What I was interested in knowing, we've been running a community-owned coin, a meme coin, as well as a product-based token. It's called Base Doja. And I wanted a question for Trader Joe about the benefits or why they chose Arbitrum. Because, recently we went out on BNB and Chronos, and we're looking at that. So with the whole meme culture and whatnot, where does Arbitrum fit in the picture?
Lou, you want to take that?
Yeah, I think like it kind of going back to what I was saying at the start, and I don't know Murdoch or Davide if you want to kind of add into it, but like the culture, that definitely feels like kind of synergy there. I think ultimately, why we chose Arbitrum is just from the ecosystem that's been built to date, in that organic manner, in that consistent manner. It's got so many unique protocols that are, essentially migrated or built from the ground up here. And they've all got, many of them have that really kind of colorful, vibrant community kind of culture, which, like memes are almost the currency of Web3. And as a user, I have that perspective of experiencing that. So naturally, to me, there feels like great synergy there from a community level with Trader Joe and Arbitrum. I don't know if Murdoch or Davide, want to expand on perhaps the tech offerings that Arbitrum has that kind of made us want to bring Liquidity book AMM here.
Yeah, I will also say that currently Arbitrum has a great ratio of quality versus noise. It's very hard to become successful in the middle of a lot of noise, but Arbitrum currently has a good size of protocols and a lot of eyes on it, while the scene is still not overcrowded or too diluted, where it's hard to spot the good projects worthy of their attention.
I agree, gentlemen. I completely agree. Even so, this question would be for Trader Joe. One definite thing I would mention is that even though we are not on Arbitrum chain yet, maybe that's because we haven't really made communication with the team. But being the founders, definitely personally, we've invested in many Arbitrum projects, so we definitely love what Arbitrum has built. So the question for Trader Joe, like when we went on to Chronos chain, right, we had to choose VVS to kind of launch some liquidity. How are you guys planning to kind of work with other projects to kind of encourage this kind of user growth by, kind of creating opportunities to do like a launchpad, maybe like, different pools where other tokens can come, kind of exist, arbitrage, whatnot? Like, just like, what are you guys planning to do?
Yeah, what you're mentioning is what we have done for the past year and a half on Avalanche. And what we are going to do on Arbitrum is going to be a slightly different take, more towards success without the need of a mission. Like one of the biggest problems that currently projects have to face in the bear market is that emission towards TVL is 0.1 not efficient, and at this ratio is also probably a waste. And that's what Liquidity book overall solves, as protocols don't need to provide emission in order for swaps to be capital efficient. So what I can tell you is that if you want to understand what we can do to support a project like yours, in case you'd want to come on Arbitrum and partner with us, is to DM me or Trader Joe Blue, and then we will talk on Telegram how to evaluate what the best path forward is. But yeah, I completely understand what you're saying. I do not think that anyway Arbitrum as of today is the DeFi landscape that users are used to, where degen farms is all there is. We actually believe that Arbitrum has positioned itself with a slightly more premium angle towards this, and that's why we are going to take a different approach within this ecosystem.
Oh, well, appreciate that, both you guys. I will DM both you guys. My name is Zach. I'm on the company handle, so we'll get into TG group. I'd appreciate that, because definitely we are looking for that utility user market, right? Like whether it's our in-game token that we're going to release. Well, it's a bear market, so subject to release, but um we need that. We don't need degen farms anymore. That overall gives a bad reputation to the chain, especially when such low gas emissions chains should be used for maybe like micro legit transactions on DeFi. But yeah, I'll definitely appreciate that. Sorry guys, keeping up the space, but appreciate that, both you guys. I'll DM you for sure.
Awesome, yeah, thanks. And again, just to stipulate from me, we're here with a product, but we're also here with the same level of effort and commitment and conviction in our marketing and community building as well. So it's the same level of effort that we have in Avalanche, but also on Arbitrum with mutual kind of community growth.
Well, thank you guys. We'll get in touch. Thank you so much.
Thanks for coming on. Look at that. Wow. Yeah, I think we can probably. Thank you for your question, Zach. By the way, I think we can actually end off there. That being said, though, if there is anyone in the chat looking to, dive more into the Trader Joe community and learn more about the product, how would one go ahead and do that in the best way?
Oh yeah. Basically, join Discord. That's where all the fun is. That's where you can get a million different roles. That's where you can explore all the starter memes and stuff like that. Yeah, so join the Discord. That's where everything starts. Tag me. And I'll tell you what, if you join now, I'll give you a special, unique Discord role with a special Joe color, which is the Arbitrum blue. That is a role which I will give to anyone who tags me now in Discord for the next hour, and then it's forever sealed, and no one will get it. How about that?
Sheesh! Merry Christmas. Yeah, I'm about to leave and come back in. Awesome. Well, again, I really appreciate you guys kind of making the time today to come on and speak with the community. Similar to how you guys made the decision to come to Arbitrum, we really do appreciate you guys kind of entrusting us and the community as a whole with the Trader Joe product and the Liquidity book AMM. I truly cannot wait to see that just kind of killing it during times of volatility as well. Again, really appreciate you guys for coming on today, and we'll see you on the next one.
Thank you all.
Awesome. Thanks so much. Yeah. Thanks, Hunter. And thanks to the audience for tuning in.